Hello everybody, John from Gaming in the Wild here with another video. It's been a while since the last one, and that's partly because I was over in London for the last couple of weeks. And the reason for the trip was that the WASD Games Festival was taking place at the Truman Brewery on Brick Lane. It was a super cool event with loads of game devs, loads of games on show on the show floor, loads of new indie games, unreleased titles, and all kinds of panels and that sort of stuff. It was really fun to be there, to meet a lot of people, and to soak up all of the vibes. I'd like to say a big thank you to WASD for having me along with the Creator Pass, and now that I'm back and sitting in front of the mic, it's time to make a video and tell you about all the great games that I played at WASD Live. If you like the video, likes and subs are appreciated. Let me know what you think of the video in the comments, and I will tell you about the channel's Patreon at the end. So the first game that I played was NanoApostle, developed by 18light and published by P-Cube. It has a 2024 release date penciled, and it's a top-down sci-fi boss rush game. You start off in a hub area, and there's a light anime vibes story, but the game is really all about the combat. There are taut, difficult boss fights, 8 in total, and it has a hyper-light drifter kind of feel to it. It's all about pattern recognition, and you'll be doing a lot of dodging, blocking, parrying, and reflecting enemy projectiles. The bosses are really tough, and they have varied moves like melee, charge attacks, area of effect, and charges and unblockables. And it's the kind of game where they feel impossible until they don't. You just have to internalize their moveset, and learning how to beat them is a really satisfying process actually. There's a demo of this one live on Steam now, and if you like games like Ender Lilies, Hollow Knight, and Hyperlight Drifter, especially the boss fights, then give this one a try. That's NanoApostle. The next game that I tried was a perfect come down from that white knuckle boss rush game. It was Pine Hearts, developed by Hyperluminal and published by Little Nook. It's coming out in Q2, so we should see it soon, and it's an isometric cozy game with a Duplo style to the visuals. The game's set in a national park style outdoor area where you'll meet campers, hikers, researchers and so forth, and they have lots of easygoing quests for you, like finding the missing tent pegs or finding all of the ingredients for a barbecue burger. There's also some fun gated exploration where you have to learn to push down old tree trunks to make bridges and so forth. It's a very cute lightweight game, and I think if you like things like A Short Hike or Alba, a wildlife adventure, or Animal Crossing even, this might be the game for you. It's coming to Steam and also the Nintendo Switch, so keep an eye out for Pine Hearts. The next game that I tried picked up the pace again. It was Gestalt, Steam and Cinder by Metamorphosis Games and published by Fireshine. It's a story-forward action platformer with Metroidvania elements, and it's set in a steampunk Victorian world. It had a very long story intro, but once I was set loose in the game, I really enjoyed the gameplay. It has a very nice, slick, mobile moveset right from the off, with a nice high jump, a wall cling, and really tight combat where you have to dodge through enemies and then hit them from behind. The demo had some really good enemy variety, and it mixed enemies up in interesting ways, so you have to think about your tactics when you head into combat. And you can also pick up side quests from NPCs that give you an excuse to explore every corner of the map. If that sounds good to you, you can get your hands on it soon. It's coming out on May the 21st on Switch, Xbox, PlayStation and Steam. That's Gestalt, Steam and Cinder. Devolver Digital had a big stand too, and whilst most of the games are out already, like Cult of the Lamb and Children of the Sun, there was a new game there too called Cricket Through the Ages. It's a slapstick, physicsy two-player combat game based extremely loosely on cricket. It starts off with one player playing as a dinosaur and the other as a caveman. The caveman throws a rock to kill the dinosaur, and so cricket was born. Before you know it, you're playing as the queen or an astronaut or a knight on a horse. The action is completely chaotic and it's a lot of fun. It's a million miles from the technical combat of things like Street Fighter and Tekken, but if you want a really good party game for two people, then try it out. That's Cricket Through the Ages. One of the most popular games on show was Paper Trail. It always seemed to have a gaggle of people around it waiting to play, and it was easy to see why. It's a very attractive top-down game with a hand-painted style where you can fold the world around you to fix bridges, create ways forward, and complete patterns in the land to open caves. It's a very ingenious central concept, and the game looks great. It played fine on controller, but there is a demo on Steam, so I tried it out on the ROG Ally, and I can confirm that it plays best of all on a touchscreen. So even though it's coming to every console on May 21st, I recommend trying this one on iOS or Android, or maybe on your Steam Deck or Ally if you have one. It's a really cute game, this one. That's Paper Trail. On the other side of the complexity spectrum was Zephon by Proxy Studios. This one's an in-depth 4X strategy game that reminded me a little bit of Red Alert. You start in one corner of the map and you have to uncover it by exploring and fight other factions as you do so. The twist here is that those other factions include a Lovecraftian psychic alien race and an AI army in the style of the Terminator, and you can strike allegiances with them with predictable outcomes. I'm not a big strategy game guy, but this one did catch my attention. I played it for a good half an hour, and I would probably have kept my session going if I wasn't in a busy exhibition hall. But the good news is there is a Steam demo, so if you want to try Zephon, you can do so, and the full release is coming in Q3. In a side room off the main hall, there was a really interesting space dedicated to Curios. It contained loads of small-scale projects, student projects, and solo dev type stuff. And I played a few really interesting games here. There was a student project called Rova, R-O-V-A, that's only been in development for a few months. It has a Mobius-inspired art style, and you play as a little moon rover who's conducting research and taking photos on a lunar surface to help humanity colonize new worlds. The movement was pretty broken, but it's a really good idea, and I'll be keeping an eye on that one. There was also a really cute little game called Data Garden by Shaman Garage. This one's actually out now, and you can get it for just £4, but it will only take you about 20 minutes to complete. Even so, I think it's worth a try. It's a textless game with comic book windows where you just press buttons to make strange things happen. There's some light puzzling and a very strong graphic design sensibility. I thought Data Garden was a really neat little thing. I also tried out a game called Echo of the Waves. It looks a little bit like Gris. It's another game with a strong design sensibility. It's a 2D game in which you walk through an environment and you have to spot patterns in the landscape, a little bit like certain sections of Hellblade, except rather than a Viking hellscape, you're wandering through a painterly island. There was also Wax Heads, a pretty clever game that reminded me a little bit of Papers, Please, except instead of processing people across a border, you're processing orders in a record store. The orders start off pretty straightforward, with people just asking for the latest record by a certain artist, but they get more complicated, like the one where the guy just mumbles, "Is it out yet?" and you have to spot what record he likes from his t-shirt and tote bag. I felt like this one really captured something about indie record store culture. It's a really cute game. That was Wax Heads. And I saved the best for last. There was a really interesting game called Crackernuts by Hairy Heart Games. This one caught my eye because of the graphics. It had a really moody, tactile look that felt related to puppetry or stop motion. It's a kind of a dark fairy tale world where you play as a sheep-headed character who's carrying a head that talks to them, and you have to deal with witches and mythical creatures. The whole thing felt like a Guillermo del Toro production, like Pan's Labyrinth the Game or something like that. So that's my report from WASD. Hope you enjoyed the video. You can find the Patreon at patreon.com/gaminginthewild. Thanks for watching, and see you on the next one.